How to break up with your phone and still run your business. Hi, my name's Liz, and I'm one half of Baba Business, the Birth and Baby Business Academy.
Hello, my name's Anna, and I'm the other half of Baba Business, the community membership for birth and baby business owners. So, phones. Well, this is another of those episodes where we were having a conversation about it for quite a while, and then we were like, we should just talk about this on the podcast
Yeah,
because I think everyone's going to really be able to relate to this, unless you're somebody who's very, very already have a very good, healthy relationship with your phone. I think for
yeah,
most of us, we recognise that we do have some serious phone addiction issues going on, and it's an extremely difficult addiction to break because of the nature of life these days.
yeah, definitely. I mean, I think we've both got to the point now where we don't have any boundaries with our phones, and we probably blame it a lot on our businesses. And to a degree, like we have to be accessible, and we have to make
Mm,
sure for when someone makes an inquiry in order to make a sale and all of
of
those
course.
sorts of things. But you're right, we're addicted to the dopamine, so we do find ourselves just scrolling and scrolling. And I think you just touched on it there as well. Like what is happening in the world today is like there's just constant updates, and
Mm,
you and I are, we're really, well, we really care about what's going on in the Middle
yeah,
East, in the US. Like these are all issues that impact um, everybody, and we want to understand them. We want to follow them. So you find yourself kind of being really immersed in that, and it's hard as well when you think about the suffering of people in Gaza, for instance, and other
yeah.
parts of the world. It's so hard to remove yourself from that, but we've kind of come to that point, haven't we, where we've started to say to each other, we really need to we need to break up with our phones, and we need to just get a little
Yeah.
bit boundary, because I'm starting to feel guilty. Like, look, I'm on my phone so much that I'm starting to wonder, like, is everybody else aware of that? Are the kids kind of aware of that? I know my husband is, because he always tells me always tells me I'm on my phone too much. But yeah, I don't want my phone to be more important than my kids, or I don't want my kids to think my phone is more important than them.
Yeah, oh, there's so much to say on this. I think there's a bit about being responsible as a responsible human being, that it matters to us what's going on in the world. There's also the part of us about being business owners, is we want to keep our finger on the pulse with what's happening in the birth and baby world as well.
Yeah,
Like, we want to hear about the latest policies that have been changed, or if something's happened to somebody, and we also want to gather information about what our ideal client is going through and what their clients are going through. And really the best way to do that, one of the great ways to do that, is on our phones. And I think so just from that point of view, we're people who get a lot out of our phones. I think it's like almost deciphering. It's not about necessarily having a complete breakup, but how can we find a way to kind of bring some balancing? Because I think what we're saying is neither of us have any balance. I also think when your kids are older, like for me, and I know this is partly because of the times change. So it's going to be the same for you. When my first two kids were born, there was no smartphones.
yeah,
It was just your basic bog standard touch screen, but not really smart.
yeah,
And then when my third child came along in 2013, smartphones were a thing, and my life was completely different, because when I was breastfeeding, I was looking at the phone. When I was settling her to sleep at night, I was looking at my phone. So there was, I can really feel the two differences in that time frame. But for me, it was a lot easier when my kids were little to not be on my phone,
yeah,
because they needed me. They needed
yeah,
me to be present. Um, Life was busy, and it wouldn't be unusual for me to not look at my phone even when I have my business throughout the day. But now my kids are older and they're very independent, and they're sat on their own devices or whatever. It's easy, and both me and my husband, we are terribly addicted to our own thing. So I think that perhaps the first step is to really look at, okay, we know we need to be on our phones less. Let's first of all look at what are we using them for? What are we what are we spending our time looking at, and which of that is useful and helpful and which isn't. Let's stop trying to make excuses about, oh, I run a business, so I have to be on my phone. Let's look at, is that actually what we're using our phones for? So I suppose we had a bit of a chat about this, didn't we, before we came on? We were really talking
Yeah.
about don't worry, you don't have to share anything you don't want to. We were really talking about, what is it that's drawing us in right now? And so, yeah, one of the things I was talking about is I did a study as part of my master's. In fact, it was my first assignment, I think, of my master's, and I did it all about watching the news because I started my training in 2020, and obviously that, a bit similar to times now, was a time when there was just so much change on the news. Like literally, you could go on the news at 9 a.m. and then 12 p.m., 3 hours later, there'd be a whole new news story out. It was very much like that when COVID hit. So there was always something new and exciting coming up on the news. And I don't want to try and say that in like it's a good thing. It's just that we do crave this it's called arousal. So it's we crave this dopamine hit,
Yeah.
and it's a bit like anything. It's a bit like watching a drama on TV, or like it's how the whole concept of soap operas work. It's like constant drama, something that gives us this dopamine hit, and we crave it, and it becomes addictive. And although something on the news is real life, it's the same thing, and we can get very addicted to it and crave it. So it's sort of, I suppose, first of all, watching out for that.
Yeah.
And certainly, I don't know about you, but I have sort of different levels of addiction with that. Some of it real, some of it sort of like we talked about, some of the Facebook groups that might have some really kind of juicy stuff going on. That almost, it's a bit of escapism, isn't it? With
Yeah.
that, like, you're a kind of break away from your life and look at, oh my God, look at what a shit show that person's life is. And
I
that's,
think
I'm like a bit embarrassed to say that but that's the truth of it. That's what we're sort of almost, that's the dopamine here, isn't it? And it's very compelling to watch and read.
I think that's the easy thing to take out of your life. Once you sort of like go, oh, I'm just here, like I'm literally in this group for the gossip, then
Yeah.
and then you say to yourself, how am I benefiting from being in this group? Okay, it might make me feel slightly better about my life as that person's life is, not going so well. But then, really look at yourself and think, yeah, but that's not actually helping me. I'm having empathy for this person, or I'm feeling like at least my life's not like that person's, but it's not helping you in any way, shape, or form. So I think once you can recognize that, so I was saying to you before we press record that like I've removed myself from a load of local groups, not all of them, but a load of them, because I just found that the conversation was just like frustrating. It was like people were kind of like slagging each other off or having arguments,
Mm.
or like, and it's just very sort of against my values, some of the things that they would be talking about and how they would be talking about it. So it ended up just frustrating me. So I thought, well, I'm going to take myself out of those groups. And then
Mm.
since then, I've just seen this, my Facebook feed has changed so much. And now Facebook are trying to get me back in other groups. So it's telling me, asking me to join like the most random groups like ever. And I'm not joining them, obviously. And I've just been quite specific about the groups that I'm in, the groups I'm reading, the groups that I'm interacting with. Like if it's got something to do with my life, then that's okay. If it hasn't, then I'm ignoring it. So I thought that was helping, but then I did make an omission to you earlier that what I have replaced that sort of group kind of mentality with is I've started watching these videos on Facebook called Pop the Balloon, and I have an obsession with dating shows, and it's like an online dating show. And I just find myself watching it, and they're like 15-minute episodes, and I'm thinking to myself, why am I watching this? Like Love Island is surely enough. It really is. So I've had a little myself about that, and I am
Yeah.
not anymore. But so I do think self-awareness is going to be one of the biggest steps to become aware and then take some action around what it is
Yeah,
that
and not just aware of like come aware of what is it that you're mostly spending your time doing it. How does it make you feel in your
yeah,
body and afterwards? Because I think a lot of these comment sections, you don't have to be in a group to know that a post on Instagram is going to have an exciting comment section. You can just see a
yeah,
post and you're like, oh, let's have a look at the comments here. This is going to be something kicking off. And it is literally like, I know people still watch EastEnders, but for me, it reminds me of like back in back in the day when I was younger and I was living at home or whatever, that's what, my mum and I would be like, oh, can't wait for this episode of EastEnders. You know what I mean? But it's the same, neurobiology wise, it's the same dopamine hit that we're getting, and the anticipation of it is all part of that as well. So I think it's just really, noticing how it makes you feel, how it makes you feel in the body. Obviously, if we're looking at lots of arguments and lots of polarizing views, people with not very nice views, obviously that's going to have impact on our mental health. So really assessing, how's that making me feel as well. And also maybe just looking at going and having a look at your like stats as well, like how much time are you spending on this stuff. If you've got an iPhone, it sort of tells you all that automatically. I'm sure other phones do too. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and I'm going to write, I'm just going to write a bit of a list, and kind of be a bit more discerning about what I watch, and think about, why am I looking at these different things, and am I being honest with myself about, am I watching these difficult things, these different things. I think as well, like there was a couple of other things we were saying as well, like our phones are almost like a filler. So like if we get a bit stuck on a piece of work on our computer, or if we were writing or something and we just need a little bit of break, instead of like standing up and taking a little walk around or going and getting a drink of water, we'll just pick up our phones. I've been doing a lot of downloading of videos lately because I'm swapping over systems for the Mindful Breastfeeding School, and there's a lot of downloading, so there's a lot of time when that's downloading. I just sit and be patient and not touch my computer. So then I'll just automatically pick up my phone and be like, oh, what can I look at? And that is such a bad and unnecessary habit, because I could be doing something really healthy in that moment. I could be doing a little bit of breath work. I could be like doing a grounding exercise. I could be, like, as I said, having a drink of water. I could even just be putting a wash on or something. Do you know what I mean? But it's just then it's so automatic to just grab my phone and just be like, right, what's going to keep me entertained for this next couple of minutes?
It's so scary when you think about how easily we do it. I think something else that might be at play here is, especially with the things that we're seeing in the news that maybe feels like completely out of our control. So, for example, like everything that's happening in Gaza and how, horrendous that is for Palestinian people. And we're watching it, and it's almost like, it's like shock and horror at what's happening. But if you take some action towards it, then I think you can almost, like, it feels like, right, I've done something, I've helped. Whereas if you just keep watching, you're just feeling helpless, and you're not able to end that cycle of like, oh, but what else has happened, and what else has happened. Whereas if you can like go and write to your MP, or even if you like share it and tag like the UK government or another government, like you feel like people might think, oh, that's not, well, that what's that going to do? But if everybody does a little bit of something, then little things create big movement and big change. So I always feel like if I take some action, I can kind of close that loop for now. I can assured that I've done something to help. Now I have to, I get to, very luckily and privileged, get to get on with my life, rather than being stuck in the loop of just feeling awful and wanting to understand more. So that for me is something I think that is helpful in that respect. So I don't know if that, could kind of help people as well.
Yeah, I think that's a really good. I think that's a really good idea. Yeah. And I think the other thing is, sorry, go on.
People feel a little bit lost, I think, with what to do in these situations that we're seeing unfolding in front of us. But there are lots of things that, read a social media post, for instance, that will tell you what action to take the action. And then I think that helps you to reassure like yourself that you're not just blithely watching it unfold in front of you. You're actually doing something to help, which does like break that cycle, and then we can move on to being more boundaried in our lives.
Yeah, I think being aware of that FOMO That feeling of FOMO is so important, because we could sit and we could watch the news all day, 24 hours a day, and we still
Mm,
wouldn't know everything. And I
yeah,
think that's the FOMO thing is like, what if I miss something? What if something happens that I'm not aware of? I want to have my finger on the pulse of this. I want to know. I want to be in the know. I don't want to be on the back foot. I want to really, I know for some people, it's like, I really want to feel for what people in Gaza is just one example. There's so many other examples as well.
yeah,
What's going on, what's happening. And I think, it's not healthy for us, and it's not healthy for our businesses either, actually, because it's really important, especially as businesses who are heart-led, creating, looking after people in our community, serving people in our community, doing really, really important work. We can't just let that go. So I think, having that awareness of that FOMO and putting in some personal boundaries around that is really helpful. And I love your idea of taking action to take a little bit of a, to kind of put that boundary in, and then you've taken that action, and then you can kind of move on and do some other things that you need to do with your day, whatever those might be.
yeah, definitely. And in the case of watching like Pop the Balloon, I mean, that's just self-control really, and I need to exercise some self-control and not get sucked into the mundane of the internet as well. Um, so yeah, I think that's it. We are looking at having a breakup with our phones and having a bit of a detox, aren't we? But we're lucky enough to be in a partnership where we can kind of, I'm like, you go first, and then I'll go, and then I think when we've
Yeah,
had it, we can we can put some more boundaries in more easily, probably.
yeah, so the sorts of things you can do on a practical note is you could batch social media. So
Yeah,
you could get that scheduled, so that you could do, you could take 2 days, 3 days, a week off from that particular platform. Not completely, but so that you're not having to worry about posting something.
yeah,
You could also take the apps off your phone and just look at them through your computer, because then you're not going to miss anything, and you're much less likely to go on your computer to look at those apps, because it's not
yeah,
just in your phone and swipe. It's the swiping and tapping is actually, I've realized, it's part of the addiction, the being
yeah,
able to, that's how they've created smartphones, so that it's super addictive, with the actions that we take, the sort of somatic side of it. So if we
yeah,
take the tapping and swiping, scrolling out, and just have it on our laptops, then we might check in 2-3 times a day to see if we've got any messages. So your business isn't going to suffer from from that point of view. What else can you do? And I think as well, just having the apps off your phone is going to make a big difference. And I've done it before, and you notice that you go and look for that app and it's not there, and then
yeah,
it's only then that you realize that there's this habit that you've got, and it's really quite strong, and it's something that probably several times an hour even
yeah,
that you're
yeah,
going to do. So take it away. You can always download them again. Like, I think even just like noticing how taking a bit of a detox feels to you, if that's making you feel a bit anxious and a bit worried, that is a sign that you probably do, you do need a bit of a break.
yeah.
What other ideas have you got for that sort of taking a break?
Well, I think we sort of sprinkled them through the episode. So maybe if we kind of recap. So the first thing is to like become aware your habits are with your phone, particularly on social media. Then it's to take action on the things that you can take action on to help try and break that loop of constantly trying to, stay up to date and understand what's happening. Put in your boundaries. Be disciplined with yourself, and think about just taking those apps off your phone, having a complete detox. And you've got your laptop or your desktop to be able to access social media if you want to, maybe through the Meta Suite we were saying before, so that you can see if there
Yeah,
are any inquiries coming in. And yeah, it doesn't have to be like, you don't have to detox forever. You might just want to start off with a 24-hour detox,
yeah,
and that feels, and then kind of maybe the next week you might want to do a little bit more. So just figure out what feels right to you, and how you want to move forward. But it's only going to get worse with the rise of AI and everything. We're only going to become more addicted to these little computers we have in our hands. So I think
yeah, and
now's the
only we can control it. So really, tune in at the end of your break, however long it's going to be, and just see how you feel. And if you are feeling a lot better, which I'm sure you will be in many ways, just then think about what extra boundaries might you want to put in longer term.
Yeah, definitely.
To look after your own mental health, basically.
Yeah,
Good.
absolutely. Oh, right. I'm looking forward to breaking up with my phone now. So before we go, we just wanted to let you know about a workshop that we've got coming up, which we're super excited about because it's going to be all about building your in-person marketing strategy. And
Yep.
we're going to build it with you. So this is something we're really passionate about. If you have got a local in-person business, you need to be doing some in-person marketing, not leaving it all to social media. So we want to spend a couple of hours with you. Or was it an hour and a half, Anna? I can't remember.
Hour and a half, yeah.
Hour and where we're going to take you through and build with you your personalized in-person marketing strategy, which you can implement in your local area. So if you are not a member, it is £25 to join the workshop. If you are a member, it's totally free.
Free.
So yay, we will leave a link so that you can sign up if you're a non-member. If you're a member, you'll learn all about it in the community. So hopefully we'll see you there.
See you there. Bye.
Bye.